Okay, we have the green bars, we have the live counters ticking up, so we should now be live, which of course means welcome back to the Storytime Network. We're both feeling a little tired, so we're just going to do a little chatting stream while I play some rugby game, because why not? So, firstly, have you got any topics prepared, or are we just going to wing this?
I have topics prepared, but I figured I'd let you start us off today.
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure. Considering I'm very bad at this kind of thing.
I will neither confirm nor deny that I thought that would be funnier.
I mean, I saw that fucking gaming is gonna be part of the Olympics now, which is kind of fucking hilarious.
Right. Not only is it going to be part of the Olympics, it's going to be like the most, like the single worst way of implementing it, which the only actual games, quote unquote, are going to be Fortnite, Gran Turismo, and Just Dance. Which is a choice.
Yeah.
Everything else is just a simulator, which at that point, what's the point? They're like, I get that they're games, they're sports sims or games, but like at the same time, they're not games. Like at that point, why not? Why? It defeats the point.
I mean, as was said in our chat, part of it is just, you know, so they don't have to pay anybody any, or too many people money.
The funniest thing is if they spun it right, they could get the people to pay them money rather than the other way around. That's the thing that gets me about this whole thing, is that they literally could get away with forcing the what's-its. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The corporations. Look, my words are not all there today. They could force the devs and publishers to pay a marketing fee. And like they'd probably get away with it too.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
That's how much leverage they have.
Yeah. I'm not sure anyone's really accused, you know, the Olympic Commission of being the best organized or, you know, the most up-to-date organization in the world.
And why would they? Because lying is a crime for many people.
But, you know, it does mean that they're not necessarily going to be, you know, the best at realizing. I mean, it's taken them this long to get, you know, gaming into the Olympics, when esports has been a thing for how long?
If you want to split hairs, since like the 1990s, so 30-ish years, more than that even. A long time is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, you know, it's taking them this long to go, hey, maybe we should have this? I don't know.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that is just hilariously tone deaf in many ways. Like, it's
I
hard
mean, I
to
feel like
understand.
again, I feel like that's the Olympic Commission to a T.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is that they just didn't really think that far ahead, probably.
Again, nobody has accused the Olympic Commission of being forward-thinking.
But like even beyond the point of not thinking ahead, what I'm saying is like it's one of those things that just it doesn't make sense from a uh like I don't know if I call it a logistical point of view or just like a marketing point of view. The reason I don't think it makes sense from is that like who is this for? Right? Like this doesn't really do much for the corporations. It doesn't do much for the
It's
uh
for the youth. It's for the it's to get a younger audience in. Because let's be honest, the Olympics is a big thing, and I know people of our parents' generations likely go out of their way to watch it, but they are old and will die in the sort of uh, relatively near future. Um,
But the thing is, outside of those three games, the youths are not going to care. Not about this.
I gave you a reason for why they were doing it. I never said they were being good at doing that.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
I mean, if nothing else, just Fortnite alone will probably get people, will probably get kids interested.
I don't know.
And
Like
not to mention, if they're including Fortnite, at this point, there's like, what, 6 or 7 different fucking games in that mess of a fucking game.
it is a mess of a number of different things. Yes. It's
Because doesn't it have like Roblox in it now as well?
it is it's not that it has Roblox in it, it's that it is the second coming of Roblox.
I
In
am
that
still not entirely sure what Roblox is, to be brutally honest. I've never really come across it.
so from my understanding, Roblox is a sandbox sort of thing where it's a combination of social network and just making things.
Sounds like a more corporatized, like Minecraft.
It is. It's Minecraft, but like even more crowdsourced. Because it's just a bunch of kids making mini games, and then, well, not all of them are kids because, of course, it's the internet.
Yeah.
There's grown men doing things as they should, as is their right. I am not disparaging them. I am, in fact, encouraging such things. But the fact remains that it is ultimately something initially presented and planned for children, and it is basically a bunch of people just making games. or mini games using the tools, and there's also the like sandbloxy. I don't even know if it has like a proper game that is itself rather outside of the mini games you can make in it, but
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. Anyway, I don't know if Epic has Epic literally bought Roblox.
I don't know. Roblox is not, my area of expertise based on, not knowing what the fuck it was before now.
I mean, again, even if you knew, it's not like it would tell you much.
Hmm.
But yeah, a lot of predators on that.
Shocker.
Do you know what's even more shocking to a certain extent?
Yeah?
How few stories you see of predators in Minecraft.
Steve scared him off, I guess.
It's not that. I think it's that a combination of probably it's a bit older, so
Hmm.
it might predate the widespread publicization of the predators, and also it's what's the term I'm looking for? It's more, I suppose. I don't even want to say crowds, like what's the word for this? Community focused, or more insular communities.
Hmm.
Because like there are public servers, but a lot of the time the servers are managed by a group of people who just actually know each other.
Yeah.
So there's not really so much of an opportunity for the creeps. Now the creeps find a way, but
Of course they do.
it's just
They always do.
it's I think it's just a bit trickier than with many others settings because people have a greater degree of control over who is and is not invited.
Well, yeah, isn't it like separate servers that you have to invite people to?
Yeah, there's ways of doing broader things, but for the most part, yes, that is the form it takes.
And obviously that, doesn't stop creeps from getting into private servers because, they're creeps. They will find a way.
It
But, yeah.
never does. It really never does. But it's like usually better than nothing.
I mean, to be fair, there does have to be a degree of, we can't entirely idiot-proof this. You have to show some common sense on your own.
As it turns out, common sense.
It's in low
Quite
supply.
uncommon.
I know, it's in low supply. But, I do genuinely feel like there is an element of, we can't just rely on, the safeties in the games or the websites or whatever. We do have to teach people, what to look out for, sort of thing.
Even beyond just teaching people what to look out for, you also have to remember that a lot of the times it's something that just doesn't even occur to people. right? Like, it's just so far removed from the experience of so many people that they just don't, it doesn't even occur to them initially that, oh yeah, this is something that kind of necessitates caution.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be cautious, right? It's just like there are certain things that if you are not already like on the lookout for it, and this doesn't is not like solely relegated to the realm of predators. A lot of scams work this way as well,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not that people are necessarily that stupid, though. Again, never underestimate the stupidity of the human condition, but
Humans are a very stupid race or species or
but
whatever.
like but yeah, even stupidity aside, it's just it's just a matter of sometimes people just don't really know what they're doing,
Yeah. And
even
again,
though they really should.
that I do feel like that comes to a educational issue because I don't know what IT classes were like for you, but I didn't get taught anything about internet safety. Didn't really get taught anything about anything that I would argue really mattered or that I didn't already sort of know what to do. Like there was a lot of, I mean, maybe there was some creating a web page stuff that I obviously didn't know how to do, but there was a lot of stuff like being taught how to use Word and how to use
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
yeah, like how there's no real classes on how to properly do your taxes, even though that really should be a class for like a lot of people, because just a lot of people just don't know how.
Yeah. Um, you know, there should be a class on not taking everything you read on the internet at face value.
What? Media literacy in current year? Let's not get crazy here.
But it should be a thing.
There's a lot of things that should be a thing.
I know, but while we're talking about things that should be a thing, it should be brought up that that is one of them.
You wanna know something depressing that I learned in I think it was intro to sociology, or it might have been like social policy. One of those fancy schmancy classes.
Yeah.
Uh Apparently global food production is enough to feed roughly 10 billion people annually.
Yeah.
Uh, and yet, still, like, a pretty sizable chunk of the population is starving.
Because
Which is.
corporations don't want to be, give away this food for free.
That's really what it comes down to. And that's the funniest thing to me. They would rather literally throw away food
Yeah.
than give it away for free. Even though they're making the same
Same amount.
profit or loss
Yeah.
either way,
Yeah.
mathematically it doesn't make a difference, but they would still rather they'd
Just.
rather take the hit to their profit margins than
Yeah.
admit that it might be possible to, you know,
Hmm.
feed the hungry.
I mean, the stupid thing is that these, these corporations don't realize that, the first one of them to actually do this and, maybe not entirely solve world hunger, but, reduce it more than it's ever been reduced, will be famous, will be in the history books, and will live forever.
The thing is, right, they do realize that. It's just that they've done the cost benefit analysis and they don't like it enough for some reason. And I think I understand, like, as evil as it is, I can somewhat understand the math. Because hunger and things like it and the class divide, those things drive stuff like demand and like a lot of their business model, shall we say, does rely on stuff like artificial scarcity and things. So it makes perfect sense from a, shall I say, evil standpoint that they're not doing this. Now, does that make it better? No, not at all. In fact, it makes it worse. But there is a logic to it.
Here's where I don't get
It's
the logic,
absolutely.
though. They assume that they're going to sell less if they give away this food to the, people who need it.
Well, part of it is that, but part of it is that they don't want to upset the status quo, and I think that's the more
Right.
important thing to a lot of these corporations. No one wants to be the first to step out because the first to step out will likely be quickly silenced by the rest of the people who are benefiting from the status quo. That's where the cost benefit comes in large part. There is a marketing and like hunger and aspect to it, but like I do think a big part of it is that they simply don't want to be the thing that rocks the boat.
I just do not understand that mindset.
It's not something you can understand if you
Have a
have
conscience
basic
and a
human
soul.
decency. Yes, it's not something understandable by anyone with basic human decency. But there's that one statistic that like some ludicrous percentage of CEOs are just out and out sociopaths, and it's really not surprising to anyone that that's the case.
This is why I had so much difficulty writing from a fucking like evil politician's mindset in that one short story I tried to do, because like I just don't understand it.
Is it? It's so. I don't know how to feel about the fact that I do. Perhaps not in like the sense of I sympathize or empathize or would want to do this,
Hmm.
but more in the sense of I can somewhat understand what is going through these people's heads, as abhorrent as it may be.
I mean, how to word this. I can sort of understand it, but it's obviously, it's not a thought process that comes to mind easily because I have a soul.
Yeah, it's funny how
Or at
that
least,
can be.
I like to think I have a soul.
Wait a second? Didn't we have a talk earlier, on an earlier stream, about how you are skeptical about the existence of the soul?
No, I don't think so.
Or was it? Because no, don't you remember the Death podcast? The Death and Reincarnation podcast, where you were like, you had thoughts whenever we brought up talk of the soul.
I say a lot of things and don't always remember them. I'm an inconsistent person in that way. I may or may not
No,
have
that's
said
fair.
I may or may not have said some things about soul existing or not. I don't remember them, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I believe there's a soul, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just using it, saying soul, for, I don't know, fucking comedic effect. I don't know.
I would say more artistic effect than comedic, but I understand what you're trying to say.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Do I believe we have a soul? I'm not sure. It's an interesting thought.
What, the concept of souls, or whether or not you believe in them?
Both.
Speak on that.
I mean, okay, let me think. Let me think. Why would I not believe we have a soul? I mean, there's an inherent, reliance on, I guess, reliance on religion being a thing, or the concept of souls is inherently tied
the concept of
to
souls
religion.
are they inherently tied to religion? Yes, but that's more of an evolutionary thing. However, they are not necessarily exclusive to religion, in the sense that you don't have to be a religious person to believe in the existence of the soul. You just have to believe in the concept that there are things that are in the universe that are not inherently observable. At least with our current level of understanding. It's a very fine distinction, but what I'm saying is you can theoretically be an atheist and still believe in the existence of the soul. It's certainly more unlikely, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility. Do you get where I'm coming from with this?
So, would it be more accurate to say that the existence of souls and the how to word this without being offensive? Accuracy? Reality? I don't fucking know. Religion being real and like that sort of thing are not mutually exclusive?
Yes. You can not believe in any religion and still, like, believe in the existence of the soul.
Hmm.
So it's they're very much distinct in that way. Of course, that is my personal thought. Funnily enough, there are probably people who are like, no, that's not the case. But if you think about it from a more academic perspective, then that is in fact the case. That you can do both and or have both.
Hmm. I'm not sure if you necessarily said that the first time we talked about this on the Death and Reincarnation one. How long ago was that now, actually?
It was a while ago, but not. It was like not completely a long time ago.
I'm gonna check. It's genuinely got me curious. Storytime Network. Death and
I don't even know.
Reincarnation.
I don't know that we. I don't even know that we would necessarily have that on tap.
Eight months ago.
So quite a while.
So back in November. Start of November. And technically ended up just being about reincarnation, I believe.
No, I think we specifically did acknowledge that death was too broad and we'd need multiple run-throughs for it
Hmm.
if we were to go with death by itself. And that was like more reasonable to split it into a number of different death adjacent categories.
Yeah. By the way, I will have to give that a listen if I am to remember what my stance is on souls.
I mean, you could just like state a stance now that doesn't necessitate listening to it.
I mean, even though you've said that, religion and souls are not mutually exclusive, my instinct is still to pair them together, so my instinct is, still on the not side.
But do you think that's a you problem or an inherent problem?
What do you necessarily mean by inherent problem?
Like, do you think that the very premise of the existence of souls is flawed, or do you think it's more of an issue of you not being able to separate them is preventing you from approaching it objectively?
I mean, uh, hmm. Interesting question. Hmm.
Because, in theory, right, this should be a question with an answer.
Hmm.
Because it's a yes or no question. And it's one of those things where it's not necessarily impossible to discover the answer. It's more that it may be a case where we simply lack the technology to discover the answer.
Hmm.
Especially when you consider things like the idea that how should I say? The idea that consciousness, like human consciousness, is still a poorly understood concept. Which is wild if you think about it.
Yeah.
We still don't understand. Oh! This is actually something I was initially going to bring up when we had more of an audience, but I'll bring it up now anyway, just because it's a fun topic and I can reiterate later. I learned about through my, as you know, I am mentally ill,
Yeah.
and mental illness has a tendency to send me on wiki dives.
Yeah.
And upon one of my recent wiki dives, I don't even remember where what the initial jumping off point was, but one of my eventual destination was a novel circa the mid 2000s, maybe early 2009, like early aughts, but like well before the rise of the particularly egregious technologies, of which I think you know what I'm referring.
Yeah.
Uh, well before that, the there was a novel about a either brown dwarf or exoplanet slash planet 9 that was discovered, and an alien ship that was orbiting it. And a mission was sent, obviously, to the ship, and it was discovered that it was ChatGPT.
All right.
Not literally,
Hmm.
but what they discovered was that the creature was not fully sentient, even though it was sapient. And we talk about this a lot, right? We talk about, oh, can you be sapient without being, or can you be sentient without being sapient? We very rarely talk about the opposite case. The possibility of sapience that is actual, like, intelligence without sentience that is self-awareness. And it brought me to a very interesting thought experiment called the Chinese room problem, which is not nearly as racist as it might sound. In case that concerns you.
Go on.
So, Picture this. You are a person whose job it is to sit in a room with a series of instructions. Those instructions, very simply, consist of a flowchart that when you receive a certain input or certain set of inputs in Chinese, like Mandarin Chinese or like Chinese characters, you will return a set output in Chinese. However, you do not speak Chinese.
Right.
So you get that. So that's the premise. You with me so far?
So your job is you'll get Chinese prompts and have to answer them in Chinese, but you don't speak Chinese.
Yes. You just have a guidebook that says if you receive this character in a prompt or this series of characters in a prompt, you return this series of characters.
Right.
So, as long as it's programmed properly, you can have entire conversations with someone and very well prove that like pass the Turing test. I'm sure you're aware of what that is.
Yes.
Yes. You can have entire conversations that pass the Turing test in Chinese without actually having the slightest idea of what the conversation is or what's going on.
Right.
That's the concept. So, what if you expand that concept, but to any possible stimulus? You can, in theory, have what is essentially an entity that appears to be fully sapient and or sentient for whatever value of that word you choose to assign, and yet it doesn't actually have any sort of self-awareness or intelligent thought. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
To a certain extent, yes, but this is sounding very philosophical, and that is not my jam.
It's not. No. It's more that. Basically, it's the idea of, well, just because ChatGPT sounds human doesn't mean it is human or self-aware or an actual artificial intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, except imagine if ChatGPT appeared completely human, no matter how you tested it. But its core is still its ChatGPT. It still doesn't actually know. It doesn't know anything in the sense that it's not aware. It's not alive. This dead silence is concerning to me. Would you like? You can ask clarifying questions or make comments.
Right, so I think I have lost track somewhere. So we started off with the concept of being being in a room and providing prompts based on what, or providing answers
Providing
based
responses
based on the prompts given.
in a language that you don't speak.
Right.
That's the key part here.
Why is that the key part here?
Because you don't have to think. Right? It's that you can speak this language, or you can appear to be speaking the language without actually speaking the language.
But the issue there is that, assuming that I mean, all right, let me think through this. So, you're saying that we can appear AI-like in that sense in a language that we do not speak.
No, yes, but what I'm trying to say is that you don't actually need to understand to have a conversation.
I disagree.
No. I mean, like, you don't need. This is assuming that the person does not know whether you are a real person or not. That's what I mean. Like, this is under the premise that the person you are speaking to is unaware whether or not you're real.
I still disagree.
I believe I'm explaining this poorly then. Because it's a very simple concept that I think I'm just explaining it very poorly because why do you disagree?
Because
Let's start there.
I mean, you are having a conversation in the sort of basis sense of the word. Because you are providing, you are having a back and forth. Whether you're having natural dialogue is a whole different matter. And there is a sense of, unless you have a response to every possible, combination
Well, it's a
of
thought
words.
experiment, so that is it's a thought experiment, so that is the assumption. And in the same way that Laplace's demon isn't actually possible, this is not actually possible, but it's a thought experiment used to denote to show a certain line of logic.
Can I just say, you said this wasn't philosophy, and then you mentioned a philosophical thing.
Laplace's demon isn't a philosophical thing. It's a quantum physics thing. As much as some people would like to conflate the two, they are not the same.
Either way,
we've talked about Laplace's demon before, by the way.
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Do you not remember? I mean, considering the fact that it's our server's
I mean, yes, my
icon
dude,
picture.
that was 6 years ago.
Was it?
Yes, it was 2018. Bunny Girl Senpai was 2018.
2018 was 6 years ago?
It's 2024.
God, I'm old. You're old too. We're
I
both
know.
old. Why are we still alive? Should we not have just, like, died of old age by now?
Man, I should not have gone to Wikipedia for an explanation of Laplace's demon. I should have asked for the layman terms. Let me just kick this goal, and then I'll do it.
Ask for layman's terms after you kick the goal, or after you, or are you gonna read the page?
Go away. I don't care about cookies. I probably should, but I don't.
You really should care about cookies. In the physical sense, because they're delicious, and in the internet sense, because they're horrifyingly dangerous.
Okay, so yes, it is. Laplace's demon is a free will thing.
It's a free will thing that is based in quantum physics.
Yes,
so it's like
yes. Somebody has given it. Somebody has explained it in a scientific way, but that doesn't change the fact that it's about free will.
free will is a scientific question. It's an unanswered scientific question, but that's literally what we were talking about. That's literally what I was trying to get at, is the idea of consciousness not necessitating sentience, or rather sapience not necessitating consciousness. I was going at it from a biological. I was going to approach it from a scientific point of view, not a philosophical point of view. You don't hate philosophy just as much as the next person.
So
Mil, do you ever? Yes, go on.
Do I have a what? Do I have a what?
No. Finish the thought.
I mean, what I was going to ask is, are we basically discussing whether free will exists?
No, we are not.
Right. What
That's
were
a
you going to
separate
say?
Well, I was gonna say, Mil, do you ever feel like anxiety has an undue influence on the course of your life to the point that you really wish it would not do that?
Of course it does. Part of the reason I was so late to start was that I've got a crack in my car's windshield, and I had to make an appointment to get it fixed. The earliest appointment was next week, but I don't have next week's work schedule yet. So I had to call up work and ask them to, tell me what my schedule was going to be so that I would know. And I had to sit there for a good 2 or 3 minutes psyching myself up so that I could make the fucking phone call.
It do be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
No, the question I was asking is not whether or not we have free will. I was going to ask the point of that novel that I was talking about, the one that had a being that had, say, intelligence. It was intelligent, but not conscious. Do you at least understand how that can come about?
Not necessarily.
Imagine an algorithm that just is a computer that is just has a response to every possible question you can ask it. It's not
I
necessarily a
just don't
good
believe
response.
that.
No. That's the most extreme case. The case that was found that was present in the novel and is more likely to exist if such a thing does exist is something like ChatGPT. Right? ChatGPT is an example of intelligence, quote unquote, without sentience. Just imagine that, but like about a few hundred years more advanced. But not to the point that it's no longer ChatGPT. It's still a machine. If you give it X input, it's still going to return Y. It's just, it looks and talks more like a person.
Right.
And the question that the novel asked, and the one I'm going to ask you, if you can wrap your head around this,
Advantage!
is
Advantage!
consciousness actually an evolutionary disadvantage? Is sentience, right, the ability to know who you are and the ability to be self-aware, is that detrimental to the long-term survival of a species? See, not a philosophy question. This is a strictly biology question. What do you think?
So is being self-aware a detriment?
Yes. Also, just as an aside, I have a flashing on and off, like, because my computer is in sleep mode, so the power button is flashing and I forgot to cover it. And the lights in my room are dark, but this is going to be the nerdiest thing. The shadows and lights in my room are such that whenever it flashes, it looks like a big old Wargreymon snoot.
Digimon has become more relevant, what with the Cloud Strike stuff.
I don't know about all that. I just, like, remember my childhood and I'm like, hey, that shadow looks like the Wargreymon head.
I've been hearing a lot of people going, Digimon called it, and I don't know what Digimon necessarily did or said, but, good for them, I guess.
God, there's okay. Oh no, never mind. It wasn't that. I mean, rather than Digimon called it, there was an episode of I think it might have been a plane crashing into a building that was supposed to air right around 2001 September
Hmm.
that had to be pulled from air. I don't know if it was a plane crashing into a building or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of stuff does happen. I mean, if you remember correctly, or if you do remember, Fire Force Season 1 had the incredibly bad timing to air in the summer of the KyoAni arson attack.
Well, that's a timing thing. But if we're talking about things like called it, are you aware that the original Deus Ex game, which came out in the 90s,
Hmm.
it was set in New York and featured a distinct absence of the Twin Towers.
I
But I think there was like a document in game explaining how the Twin Towers were destroyed, and I think the date of the destruction was 2001
Bind!
in the game, in a game release in the 90s
Yeah,
that
that
was set in the
is
far
that
future.
is
So
remarkably prescient. Yes. I mean, and
No,
on
prescient is when a game or a story calls something like the climate crisis or something like that. That's just an unfortunate coincidence. I think prescient requires a bit more intention.
you
You
have
know
to
what I'm saying?
you have to understand. I use a lot of words without me knowing their true meaning.
No. That's just it's very rhetorical of you. Um,
Don't do this to me.
that, that was a Dragon Ball Z abridged reference,
Ah,
just in
okay.
case. Now you're being rhetorical.
Ah, okay.
Yes, I was just trying to. I wasn't making fun of you. I was attempting to channel my inner uh
Play on.
Lawrence Simpson. That's Moscow's full name, right?
Yeah, Lawrence Simpson. Yeah.
Yes, I was trying to channel my inner Lawrence Simpson. What do you channel your inner Lawrence Simpson? You're at least British.
Fine. Set.
Not going to dignify with that with a response.
I mean, he's from a completely different area of Britain than me, so
Listen, since when has that ever stopped? Since when have regional differences stopped anyone? Period.
hmm.
Every American's a cowboy. Every British person is from Victorian London, and every Italian person loves pasta. There's others. It's one of those things where I had to. I for rule of threes, I had to find a third one, and
Hmm.
I think Italy is still an acceptable target
Yeah.
because they are white people. They're okay. Italians are white people, but they feel less like white people than most other white people. Yay or nay?
I mean, they're in that sort of weird, weird sort of grey area because they've got a similar skin tone to Spain and Portugal and all that sort of stuff. But would you class them as Hispanics?
Okay, real talk. When we say white people, we mean colonial powers, right?
I mean, I guess.
But yes, basically these broad sweeping generalizations, we can make them about the nations of the white people. It's that because they're acceptable targets.
Yes.
All Russians love
No,
vodka, that's another one.
nobody cares if you make fun of a French person. Not even the French really care at this point.
See, and that's just your British hate boner popping out.
I mean, the French care when the British do it, but that's because, as you said, we have a mutual hate boner. But, if you and an American do it, I don't think they really care.
Is it mutual?
Yes. We hate each other.
Something, get a room.
We tried that. Didn't go well.
Yeah, I'm not
The
not
French
gonna go
people
there.
we had stay over eventually became British, and that restarted the whole thing.
That is generally how it goes. We tried that in Canada, and then we got Quebec. You are welcome to make fun of Quebec. They are the. Quebec and the rest of Canada have a similar relationship to England and France,
Yeah, I know.
especially Alberta.
Mm.
Well, actually, no. Alberta has a hate bone against British. Should we talk about something that's a little bit interesting to me?
Have we not been doing that?
Yes and no. Uh, Regional rivalries.
Yeah.
Do you think regional rivalries are something that can come into existence anymore? Or are they kind of have all of the die already been cast?
Um.
Do you get
So
what I mean by
yes,
that?
yeah. I suppose it depends what you mean by regional differences. Do you mean uh,
Within a country. Within a country.
within a country?
Yes.
Um,
Don't you have football hooligans who make a whole thing about this?
yes, of course we do. We have a thing for
Yeah.
everything.
Well, but that's what I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Um, I mean, technically yes, because there are still countries being, you know, made.
Like that, look, let's keep it to the level of tomfoolery and local sports teams and avoid international politics.
Um,
Or if we or go with mostly comedic examples like the British French mutual hate boner.
yeah, I mean that's mostly a thing because we can't really wage war anymore without destroying the whole world.
But
Not to mention, I don't think either of us is really sure who would win, and it's really not worth it otherwise.
and also I don't think I don't think the people in charge particularly want to go to war with each other. I think it's mostly just the plebeians.
It is at this point in internationalism as a concept. Uh, you know, there's just not much point in going to war anymore. It would cost more than it's worth. Not to mention the whole, the minute we try and go to war anymore, some prick steps in and stops it. I say prick as if I, don't believe we shouldn't be going to war anymore, but you know what I mean. Somebody will step in and stop it. America or UN or EU or whatever would step in and stop us, stop a war pretty quickly. So we're down to proxy wars. If anyone
But
actually,
no, but is this still a bit, or do you sincerely believe that the French and the British hate each other enough that they would go to war if they could?
probably not at this point. To be honest, most British people, or a fair amount of British people, hate Britain more than any French person ever could, because they have to live here.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Is nothing breeds hatred more effectively than proximity.
Um,
France and England may be close, but the British people are right up in there in the guts. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
They are the guts.
What were we talking about before? Oh, regional divides.
Yeah, yeah. Regional rivalries, divides, conflicts, whatever. What say you?
I would say yes, especially if we're talking sports terms, because uh,
Sports are more of an outlier.
I mean,
Like, for example, Ontario and Quebec kind of have this thing going on where they feel the need to compete in everything because one of them was the English seat of power and the other one was the French seat of power, and that conflict from ye olden times has kind of persisted to the modern day, just in uh lighter form.
mhm.
That's the sort of thing I'm talking about because with a lot of these rivalries and concepts, they date back
I
to
mean that's the thing.
a long time ago.
Any regional rivalry in that sense already exists. So,
Well, no, like for example, currently, well, as far as I know, I may just be horrifically out of touch. Ontario doesn't have a rivalry with Nova Scotia, but do you believe a rivalry could pop up on that provincial level? And you substitute the Canadian provinces with
yeah.
any
I mean,
local
probably. I
regions or
guess.
see. I don't think so. I think that due to a combination of the explosion in population and the difficulty of achieving intentional virality, something like a regional rivalry that an entire population gets into
mm,
just isn't something that can happen anymore because for the most part the ones that already exist are just people who were born into it and
mm,
were sort of because like, oh, that's what everyone around me is doing and so I'll do it too.
yeah.
Whereas it's much harder to get people who are alive and have thoughts
Mm.
and opinions.
I would also argue that people are a lot less likely to sort of sequester themselves into groups like that, I guess, um, than they previously were. And a lot less likely to define themselves in that way. And therefore, they won't take, sort of interregional rivalries as seriously. Um,
That's another thing about the information age, isn't it?
mm,
Is people just kind of find their own little bubbles and decide to live in them forever.
I would also argue it's a result of it being a lot easier now to move places than it previously was, and move long
Right.
distances than it previously was, because in the past, up until a certain point, people would stay within the same sort of probably 10, 15 mile radius. Um, but now they can. I mean, look at Jack. He's moved, across the country. I've in my lifespan, I have moved from my hometown to my dad's hometown to now where I am here up in Scotland. I did a lot of that in the course of the last 6-7 years. As a result, I am up here, but I don't necessarily have the same, regional divides that exist up here. Obviously the big one where I am is Rangers and Celtic with the football. And it's like, well, I do support one of those teams, but I don't have the same, level of investment in that rivalry as a result of not growing up here. Not to mention, a large part of it is based on religious differences, which obviously I got no skin in that game. I think they're all dumb. You've been very quiet.
No, I've just been thinking.
Okay.
But
when I'm allowed to talk for that long, I get worried that something has gone wrong.
nah, that's more just
when I get to ramble for that long, it usually means that something has gone wrong Discord-wise.
No, like I was just thinking of whether or not I should bring up Scottish independence.
I mean, you can. I personally support it. I have no idea, to what extent Scotland will be able to give it a go, but, can anything be worse than living under the British's heel?
I mean, several revolts and wars of independence would suggest that to be the case, but I don't know. It's interesting. A lot of the secessionist movements in the First World are very interesting to me. The two major ones I can think of are Scotland and Catalonia. Are you aware of the Catalonian independence movement?
I mean, vaguely, yes. Not to any great extent. I know that Catalonia sees himself apart from Spain. I'm not really sure of, the distinctions there or anything like that.
Yeah, it's more like I'm just very curious, like, how sustainable are they?
I mean, you picked out Scotland and Catalonia. I feel like you're missing a very big one.
Quebec and Texas?
No. Even bigger. And more likely to happen. Ireland.
Wait. Isn't there like only a chunk of Ireland that's actually under British rule and the rest is not?
Yes, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland.
Yes. Yeah, so
Well, the Republic of Ireland still wants Northern Ireland back.
No, that's a given. That I see as less of a separatist movement or a secessionist movement and more of a like anti-colonialist movement.
Hmm.
I consider them quite distinct. Also, is Texas bigger than Northern Ireland? Texas is very large.
Northern Ireland is still an actual country.
My brother in Christ, that doesn't necessarily. The Vatican is a country, legally speaking. That doesn't mean it's bigger than Milwaukee.
I mean, not bigger in the sense of actual size. I mean, bigger in the sense of significance, I guess.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is that it's almost too significant to count as a proper secessionist or separatist movement.
Hmm.
Right? That's a at the level of a major war sort of thing, right? It's not at the level of a referendum.
Hmm.
Which do you want to know the funny thing? Quebec in Canada talks about wanting to be its own country a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They've had 2 province-wide referendums, and they both failed.
Hmm.
I believe some to the order of 52 to 48.
Hmm.
It was close, but they still both failed.
Yeah.
So it's like, and in that case, it's not even the vocal minority. It's the vocal, like, few percent less than the ones
Hmm.
that want to stay. At least in the voting population. I don't know what the actual proportional voter turnout was, but I do know that there were 2 referendums and they both failed.
Yeah.
Like they both like at the popular vote level, not even
Hmm.
at the legislative level.
I mean, I feel like at that point, the issue is that that is a whatchamacallit, percentage that can be chalked up to how to word this,
Voter turnout variance.
voter turnout variance, errors, and poor campaigns, that sort of thing. Um, I mean, look at Brexit.
I mean, yes, and the funniest thing, I still find the Brexit so funny. I mean, I have to imagine it's not been funny living through it, but just from an outsider looking in, and especially because we laugh so we don't cry perspective,
I mean,
it's just like,
there's definitely an element of we laugh so we don't cry.
was Brexit pre or post Trump?
Same year. I think
Funny.
technically it was pre him actually winning the election because the referendum was in sort of late spring, early summer. Because I was doing exams when I voted in it, and when the results came out, because I genuinely I believe it was a maths exam the day the results got announced.
Was this high school?
Yes. Well,
Poor
I
mathematics.
was 18, so it was my final year.
Still high school.
Yeah. I mean, technically, in UK terms, it was sixth form, which isn't technically high school.
But it's high school.
In a sense, yes.
Look, we know you British try and be fancy and pretend you do things in a different way while doing things mostly the same.
Here's the thing:
But I,
I can't argue as much with you about this kind of stuff that like I can with Jack, because obviously, America's shit at everything.
Yes.
So, you know,
Meanwhile, all of
Jack can say, "Oh, you know, you British do things in a weird way," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, look at the way you do things, American. It's not exactly
and
great,
meanwhile,
is it?" And meanwhile, I got you, the fucking Canadian, and I don't necessarily know what you do well enough to really say whether it's better or worse.
I mean, as a subject of the crown, though reluctantly now that the queen has died and
I
failed
mean,
to drag the rest of the royal family to hell with her.
I honestly thought you said
Um,
resurrect. I thought you were gonna say resurrect as a zombie.
no, that would be the second best outcome. But I am a reluctant subject of the crown, and you'll find that most of Canada's bad habits in that regard are inherited from the British.
Sorry.
So you can't. Well, yes, but also you can't make fun of us for it without making fun of yourself.
I mean, I'm still gonna do it because you know it's very funny to make fun of Britain. We suck.
But I mean, I'm not gonna argue with you on that one. But we don't even have that many like weird things we do. We put U's
Good. You
in
spell words
word.
correctly then.
We spell words correctly, yes, and we use kilometers. We're actually better at the metric system than you are, because y'all still use miles for some reason.
Yeah, we do.
You can hardly give the Americans flack on that one.
We give them the Americans flack for Fahrenheit though.
No, that we
That's
use Celsius
insanity.
like the rest of the civilized world.
Fahrenheit to me is insanity. It really is.
It is the stupidest. Like, I cannot see a single tangible benefit to it.
Like,
No one takes it
how is
seriously.
centigrade hard? 0 is freezing, 100 is boiling. It's so easy to tell, you know, what's happening in between those two big numbers. And yet fucking Americans are like, oh no, our thing where, like, freezing is what, like 43 degrees is so much better?
No. Funnily enough, I do believe 0 is freezing for both. I believe that is the only point of crossover.
I still say it's
They
dumb.
meet at 0. It's dumb. No, I'm not gonna say it's
Yeah.
not dumb. But like,
What about
yeah,
boiling? What about boiling? What temperature is that?
oh,
in
boiling
Fahrenheit?
is like something stupid, like 232.
Yeah, that's just dumb.
No, it's stupid. No one takes it serious. No one in the scientific community takes it seriously. There's just no reason for it.
To be fair, isn't the scientific community at least partially using Kelvin?
Only the real
Some more.
like experimental people. Most of them are like, like Kelvin doesn't really make a difference. It's just like you subtract or add 237.15.
Hmm.
So it doesn't make that much of a difference. And most, like a lot of scientists are working with either such large numbers or such small numbers that the unit stops mattering
Hmm.
to a certain extent. Right? If you're talking about something that's like a billion degrees, about 250 either way isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah.
That's just rounding error at that point.
Anyway, what were we talking about before we got into this discussion of laughing at Americans?
Brexit.
Oh, Brexit. Yeah, it's...
Well, I had a comment that I was going to make about Brexit,
Go on.
which is, to some extent, do you believe that more people are aware, more more people who voted for Brexit are aware of how much it screwed them over than Trump voters are aware of how much he screwed them over?
I would argue yes, because it was such I don't know, because it's very easy to sort of pigeonhole people who voted for Trump that first time as, just ignorant pieces of shit. But there probably weren't. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, no. Here's the thing: the people who are like, "Well, he's bad, but at least he's not a Democrat." Those people still. Oh, please. I must attend to dog for a moment. Well, no, we can. But yeah, the people who are like, I would rather vote for the person who will destroy my life than the other color. Those people deserve what they get.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that, I feel, was a big part of his. Anyway, we should not talk about politics to that extent. But, I mean, part of it, I think, is just a smaller population. But anyway, God, we can't even segue back into Americans being stupid. Oh, let's talk about math.
I will talk about the reason I think Brexit happened, which is a little less fraught than talking about American politics, which is that obviously the campaign for Remain was shit. That's, I would argue, is a large part of it. The campaign for Remain was just absolute horse shit. Aided and abetted by the media, of course. The media in Britain is far too close. I mean, even the left-leaning newspapers are closer to right-wing than they should be.
I mean, that's not exclusive to Britain.
Yes,
sadly.
Obviously not, but yes, that is definitely the case. You will. I mean, look at the recent election and the fact that dickhead McGee Farage's Reform Party, which I've got a thing I'll bring up after I finish this. Yeah, Farage's Reform Party won the same amount of parliamentary seats as the Green Party. And yet, the Reform Party got so much more, so much more press, so much more, oh, look at what a great job the Reform Party did. They got 4 seats. Meanwhile, the Greens got the same amount of seats and got basically barely anything. And it was sort of similar in that sense to Brexit. The Leavers got a lot, or the Leave campaign got a lot more screen and page time in that sense. I'm fairly sure. There's also, I think, the fact that Brexit as an issue is a lot more. It's a lot harder to quantify and understand for people who don't have a background in economic policy, mostly. It is a very economic issue and can go very much down into the minutia, which can make it hard for people to understand. And in that sense, it was a lot easier for the Leave Party to campaign in that sense, because they were able to rely on buzzwords and simple terms compared to the Remain Party, who had to talk about why economically it was such a good thing that we were part of the EU. Let me just take a drink. Now, I think I've talked about this with Jack. I don't think I've talked about this with you on stream. Did you know that it seems quite likely that the Reform Party put up a relatively significant number of candidates in the most recent election that do not exist?
Oh, that's really funny.
That are not real people, do not exist in any capacity whatsoever. They are just a name on the ballot.
How many of those won?
None of them won. None of them won. Because
What would they have done if some of them had won?
So that we're still trying to figure out how many are actually. I say we. There are people still trying to figure out exactly how many were actually, non-existent candidates, and how many are just people who live like insanely far away from the constituency they were standing for election in. But there was one in, I think, Dorset, where somebody did admit to putting up a basically non-existent candidate and said, "Oh, we would have picked somebody from the community." Okay?
I think that's how the law works.
No, it really isn't. I'm almost certain that had that happened, there would have been an immediate by-election because they have to have somebody who fucking exists.
That, or they would have just given it to second.
They may have given it to second. They probably would have given it to second in the short run and immediately and very quickly held a by-election.
That's true, yeah.
Because Reform would have thrown a stink. But the point is that even in that South Dorset constituent, I think it was South Dorset, the Reform candidate came third. And the second place was the Tory candidate, who wasn't second by that much. And obviously, Reform ate into a large part of the Tories' share of the vote. So that Tory candidate can genuinely say, well, people who may have voted for me otherwise voted for a non-existent candidate. What the fuck? This can't be allowed, sort of thing. Except that I'm not sure if they can do that, because I'm fairly sure the Tories gutted the electoral stuff. So I'm not sure if they can actually say that. I'm not sure. This is not something that happens very often, and not on such a large scale.
This seems like one of those things where there's no rule in the rule book that says a dog can't play basketball.
Well, the stupid thing is, when I went to vote, I had to take my passport with me as proof of ID. You don't need proof of ID to stand as a fucking
That
MP.
is a funny juxtaposition. It is one of the sad realities of modern day bureaucracy, but it is really funny to think about.
Also funny is that one of the more I refuse to say popular, but one of the more well-known, let's say, transphobes tried to create her own political party and stand in a variety of seats and lost horrifically.
I mean,
to the point where apparently you have to put in a deposit to create a party and stand in constituencies, and she lost that deposit because she did so badly.
Which is deserved, but the problem is that the more cunning. I don't want to use the word intelligent in relation with transphobes. The more cunning transphobes just join the furthest right party.
I mean, yes, of course.
Rather than trying to start their own. Or they were already a member of one of the far right parties.
Yeah. Wow, they don't have to fucking worry about that because fucking Labour's listening to them, and Labour's listening to fucking Rowling, unfortunately. Because of course they are, because Labour isn't a left-leaning party anymore. It's closer to centre-right now. Especially with Starmer in charge. Under Corbyn, you could genuinely say they were at the very least centre-left, but now under Starmer, they're absolutely centre-right.
It's kind of funny, isn't it, that it's much less incendiary talking about British politics than it is talking about American politics?
Because even now, after, a period of probably, going the furthest towards extremist ends of the political spectrum as we've had for certainly a while at the very least. We're still not as bad as America.
I
We're
think
still
it's
nowhere
it's
near, the American
partially
levels of that kind of politics.
it's partially that, but also partially because, like, quite frankly, America just has a much more
Play on.
obvious
Go
impact
back
on the
in to
world
match the
stage,
previous foul.
and they have a lot of guns.
Yeah, that does not help.
Crouch. Bind.
The military-industrial complex is one of the funniest things, and this isn't even directly related to politics because this is something that no president, regardless of party, will ever escape from. They just keep making weapons to fuel the military-industrial complex, and the funniest part is that probably 90% of those weapons just end up in a scrapyard
Yeah.
because they become too old to use. Because there is no way to actually use that amount of weaponry,
Not without starting
right?
a war.
No, even if they start a war, between the stockpiles and the rate of production, they won't actually ever run out of weaponry. They'll run out of people before they run out of bullets. Or guns, rather. They'll never run out of bullets, but they'll run out of people before they run out of guns. That's just how much of a behemoth the military-industrial complex is. And it's like, there's still a pretty significant chunk of the population, and not just in the fringe of society, that is pretty sure the military-industrial complex was behind the Kennedy assassination.
I was going to ask which one, but it's JFK. I also am not sure
Yes.
if any other Kennedy got assassinated. I just know that that family has been
A
through some
lot of
rough
them
times.
did die.
Yeah.
Enough of them have died that you have to wonder if there's something a bit more nefarious going on behind the scenes, like how every person who was going to testify against Kevin Spacey mysteriously died and or killed themselves.
I don't think you mean Spacey.
No, Spacey too. Did you not know about that?
No?
Yeah, a lot of the people who initially stepped forward to accuse Kevin Spacey died in accidents very close to each other.
Great.
Like
What a wonderful world
hit
we
and
live in.
runs, that sort of thing. You know, the things that are easy to fake.
Yeah. What a wonderful world we live in.
The Boeing stuff was obvious. Like that, we're not even going to talk about that. Not only was the Boeing stuff obvious, they admitted to it
Yeah.
in a court of law and got away with it because, of course, they did.
Because they're rich, yeah.
No, no. The thing with Kennedy was that he was like, "What if we reduce the power of the military-industrial complex?" And then he got shot in the head. Now, am I saying that's definitely what happened? No. There's a very, very solid chance that Lee Harvey Oswald was just a crazy person who just decided,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill the president.
I think...
There's a good chance.
Yeah,
But the thing that complicates things is
It's an advantage.
the fact that some random dude murdered him before he could be properly interrogated and tried. And then that dude died 6 months later.
Yeah.
Which, he died of cancer, yes, but it was well known at the time that high levels of radiation cause cancer.
Yeah.
and it would not have been difficult to expose him to those levels of radiation.
No, probably not.
Like, you can very easily be exposed to a level of radiation that will kill you of cancer in 6 months. But yes, so if it had just been Lee Harvey Oswald who was like, especially because he did try and kill another guy. He tried to assassinate a somewhat famous general who was the voice of the local far right, I think. Before he did the hit on Kennedy, he got away with that one, but he also failed to kill the guy. But yes,
There's also
if it had been,
the whole grassy knoll thing as well.
the grassy knoll is a non-thing. I should know this. I literally last year took an entire course on a university level course on the Kennedy assassination. What? Okay, when you say grassy knoll thing, what do you mean by that?
Gunman on the grassy knoll.
No, but like elaborate on that.
What?
What does that mean?
That there was another gunman that did the actual assassination on the grassy knoll, and it was,
Yeah, that was debunked like very early on.
And yet it still exists.
May I offer you a counterpoint to that?
Yeah.
Flat earthers still exist.
Good point.
Even though that was debunked by the ancient Greeks. In between all their gay orgies.
I choose to believe it was the gunman on the grassy knoll, and that gunman was JFK himself. In time travel.
Yes.
In time travel shenanigans. Do you know what I'm referencing?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Futurama.
No. Similarly sci-fi, though.
Third Rock from the Sun?
No. Red Dwarf.
I'm not lying, that was going to be my third guess. It was either Third Rock, if it's not Futurama, it's either Third Rock on the Sun, or from the Sun, or Red Dwarf. Those are kind of the same show. They're not, but they're kind of the same show.
But yeah, Red Dwarf did a very funny time travel episode about the Kennedy assassination. It's genuinely really fucking funny.
But yeah, like the primary debunking of that, I know you're doing the bit with the grassy knoll thing, but the primary debunking of that is like the angles and the injury pattern just do not work out.
I mean, here's the thing. Kennedy assassination is not something I've ever studied in any real depth, so I will defer to your knowledge if you have done a university course on it.
You are a historian.
That
is history.
It is history, but just because I'm a historian doesn't mean that that's a period that I studied. History is
That's your answer whenever I bring up the fact that you're a historian. What period did you study?
So let's see.
If you say the Edo period, I am going to go to Scotland and smack you.
I mean, I did a module on Japanese history, though I can't say I ever went into any real depth about it. But I do have, well, not the Edo period itself, but certainly closer to the Meiji period. I did. I definitely did.
I don't even know which one of those comes first and which one of those comes second, so...
I believe it's Edo period that comes first, and...
I'm less of a degenerate weeb than you.
because I believe that's more being me being a history guy than me being a weeb. Okay.
My brother in Christ, you did your dissertation on anime.
Yeah, because I was smart, unlike other people. Other people had to go through boring, dusty documents. I got to watch anime and play video games for my research, okay? Don't hate on me for being smart. If I had to do a dissertation where I had to actually look at proper primary sources and not fucking like do it on like anime and manga and video games and all that sort of stuff, I would not have done as well as I did.
I'm writing a paper on Taylor Swift's fan base and how they're a cult.
I'm not getting into that. Even I'm not dumb enough to poke the Swifty bear. Anyway,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just like stating facts.
they won't see it that way.
I know they won't, but we have 0 viewers, so it's not like it's gonna matter one way or another. But
Anyway, what was I saying? My periods in history that I've actually studied. I'm actually not too bad about sort of First World War and interwar period. Though I'd have to look some stuff up if I was to actually talk on it on any real detail.
was Franklin or Teddy Roosevelt the son?
I don't think they were actually related.
There's no way that's true, is it?
I don't think they were related.
I need to look this up now.
Yeah. It would be wild if FDR was Teddy Roosevelt's son or even any kind of relation to his, but I'm fairly sure that's not
One
the
moment,
case.
please.
Yeah, no,
One
do
moment,
look that
please.
up because I'm
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
What's
Are
the
they
verdict?
really not in any way related? Where's the personal details? Born, spouse, children relevant. It says Roosevelt family. They were 5th cousins.
Okay, that doesn't count as related. They could get married at that
No,
stage of
wait, they
relation.
did. Eleanor Roosevelt, Franklin, FDR's wife was Teddy's niece.
Okay.
So her name was Roosevelt before she married President Roosevelt,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
very Habsburg of them. But yes, so they were cousins of cousins of cousins of cousins, and then they became uncle and nephew-in-law. So they were related, just so much more distant. I spent my entire life thinking that one of them was a father-son presidential thing like the Bushes. I could have sworn that was the case.
Hmm.
You can see the confusion, right?
Yeah, no. I'm sure as a kid I probably felt the same way.
I will be right back, and then we should end the stream, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I suppose it is an interesting question about what period of history I would consider my specialty. Pick up there. Oh, yeah. Hmm. 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 I'm honestly not sure what I would go for there. Certainly an interesting question. Hmm. Not bad at Napoleonic, but I never actually studied that at university, so um, arguably I'm not that much of an expert in the stuff that I did my fucking dissertation on. I never, if I'm brutally honest, I never went that in depth for it. I just sort of did a lot of case studies for it. Um, hmm. Hmm. I'm honestly not sure. Hmm. Aha, okay. Anywho, what am I doing on this? Oh. Oh, damn.
Hello?
Alright.
Did any of my... Did I forget to mute or anything?
No.
Okay. Yeah, we've been going for a while. We should probably call it.
Yep. Alright. So, thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. In terms of future stuff, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday as always. Saturday is going to be the 3+ episode check-in for summer 2024 anime, so look forward to that. Please do give us a follow here on Twitch and all that YouTube stuff.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and leave a comment if you liked the video.
Fuzzy, is there anyone you would like us to raid?
Actually, hang on. I don't think any of my preferred individuals are online. Is Little Kariba online?
He is.
Yeah, just raid him then. Is if we raid him enough, maybe he'll remember our name.
Right, well, with that, thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully we'll see you on Thursday. Good night.
Bye bye.